Hello to everyone listening or anyone who is going to listen. So in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about how I began meditating and how you can create a practice of your own. There are obviously a million different ways to meditate, and I believe that every individual has their own way of meditating, and so in that case, or in that way, there are just as many ways to meditate as there are people. But I'll talk a little bit towards the end of the video about the different ways to meditate, the different forms there are of meditation. So I began meditating when I was 14 after experiencing sleeping problems throughout my entire life. So as a child, I had problems getting to sleep and had insomnia throughout my life. And around the age of 14, I was finding it really hard to fall asleep. So I'd be up for hours trying to get to sleep, pulling my hair out, spending ages just rethinking everything that happened throughout the day and experiencing a lot of anxiety. And I heard that meditation was helpful for sleep. And I'd overheard a friend talking about candle meditation. So that's the first meditation I ever did, where you stare directly into a candle. And yeah, that experience was amazing. I stared into the candle, and as I breathed, it felt like the room had begun to breathe with me, and I just completely lost myself in that candle. And that was the first form of meditation that I ever did. And through the years, I've been meditating, but on and off, not too regularly. And then I went to India and I traveled there, and that's when I started meditating much more regularly and experiencing the benefits of regular meditation. But it wasn't until I got to university in 2019 when meditation became a daily practice for me. And what that did, first of all, after years of not being able to sleep through my childhood, meditation allowed me to actually enter the sleep state without much problem at all. Now I can sleep anywhere. And it really allowed me to just still the anxiety and the anxious swelling of thoughts that had cascaded through my body all day long. Once I was in my bed, I was finally able to still my mind. And now I don't have any trouble getting to sleep. But the doorways that regular meditation opened for me, I didn't even dream could be or would be the case when I began meditating. And it really makes me think that everything that happens in our lives happens for a reason. And I'm so grateful for those sleepless nights and for many terrifying sleep paralysis episodes I had when I was growing up, which then enabled me to become much more disciplined with meditation, and has now led me to where I am now, where I have a regular practice. And I was saying it's opened so many doors for me, and that's quite a difficult statement to make because there's so many things I could say from that specific point. But what I will say, which I think many people can relate to, is the overwhelming number of anxious thoughts that were coming through my head all day when I was in conversations with people, when I was thinking about myself, when I was thinking about the future. I began to be able to go into silence, and the gaps I was experiencing between one thought and the next increased to the point where I could actually exist in the present moment without any sort of chatter or feedback or stuff remove me from just enjoying the simplicity of whatever I was looking at, from enjoying the detail of things, which I think that anxiety can really remove you from, and sort of place a lens around experience which you can then feel distance from. You can feel distance from your experience when you have anxiety. And yeah, my meditation now, the way I meditate it's changed a lot over the years. And the way I meditate now is really a lot of visualization. But I would say for people who are looking to get into meditation, a very good way for me, which helped me to begin my practice, was to listen to trance meditation music. And I'll post some links below of the tracks that I used to listen to. But Alan Watts, who was a really famous professor who actually was very famous for bringing Eastern philosophy over to the West, he says in one of his lectures that music is one of the easiest ways to get into the meditative state. And I couldn't agree more, especially if you have a very busy brain that's always moving from one issue to the next, and where you want to be in the future and what happened in the past. Music is something that can just put you in that moment that you need to be in. And trance music and trance meditation music is very relaxing. And so if you find your thoughts wandering off as you sit there in meditation, just forgive yourself for coming out of the meditative state and find yourself back in the music. And with trance music, because it doesn't really change very much, it's very easy to kind of get into a space of thoughtlessness, because it's all one sort of tune that's going on. Whereas with music that is moving up and down and has loads of lyrics, you find yourself wanting to move and your brain wanting to move. So trance music is a really good way of getting into meditation, and also becoming aware of your breath and becoming aware of your body. Breath work and observation of my breath is something that I've only just begun to do now, because for ages I sort of thought that, well, I would get so into the meditative state when I was finally in it that I kind of would breathe very shallow, and then begin to get very, very strong tingling sensations over my body, and I couldn't tell if it was because I was really experiencing something very big, or because the breath that I was, trapping off from my brain was actually just causing me to have some weird reactions. But I definitely would say, yeah, it was actually strong energy coming through me when I was in those deep states of meditation that was actually doing that, which were very beautiful sensations like a kind of heat that is really warm and vibrant all over my body, kind of washing away everything that needs to be washed away. So yeah, one way I'd say to start meditation practice is listen to trance music. Another one is to actually allow the thoughts that come through. So say you're having a day where things keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. Just allow yourself to actually journey into those thoughts as opposed to stopping them, and see where it takes you, and see whether you can start to have a conversation with those thoughts where you can have a positive spiral upwards. So if the thought is, I have so much to do today, I don't have enough time, I'm feeling stressed, I don't want to be involved in the stuff I have to do, say, these are things I should do, but I don't have to do. And what I could do before doing those things is maybe go to the park, and then you imagine yourself going into the park, and instantly you're in a visualization setting where you're imagining yourself surrounded by nature. Maybe you can feel the soil underneath your feet, and you were just taken away for a moment in your meditation into somewhere more peaceful, which you're allowed. Like, I think a lot of people think of meditation as a space to shut your thoughts down and to go still and silent. And that is also a goal for many people. But for people just starting out, it's really difficult to go there. It's incredibly difficult. And so a lovely thing to do is just to visualize beautiful things and to invite calm and invite peace into your head and into your space. And creative visualization is also another technique to use, which I started using last year, which is imagining light coming through you, or imagining yourself somewhere beautiful out in nature, imagining yourself with a friend, imagining yourself in a scenario you'd want to be in, imagining yourself in an ideal situation. So say you're having an issue with something you've done in the past, imagining how you would have done that or how you could do that in the future, and realizing that that mistake you've made is actually a platform for you to learn from, and then going to that next experience with the tools you've had from the past experience. Another way of meditating is mantra meditation. So you could say, I used to do mantra meditation as well. When I first began, I would say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and I didn't actually know what it meant. I just knew it was a mantra, and it would help me to get into a state of thoughtless awareness. So I knew that I was still conscious, but I wasn't really in any space or any time. I was just aware that I was awareness. And I listened to a video the other day that Sadhguru spoke about, and he was speaking about mantra chanting and talking about how it isn't necessary to know what the meaning of a mantra is in order for it to affect you in a positive way. And I like that, because a lot of people, including me, are very interested in knowing, what is the meaning of this? What is the logic behind this? How do I know this is actually going to work? But it removes us from the intuitive sense of, I don't know what this is or why it's working, but I feel it's doing something. And I definitely felt that with the mantra meditation. I also felt that with mudras, because I used to start out my meditations talking about the mudras you can do. And the first meditation I did, I said, I did this mudra, I don't know what it means, but it makes me feel good. And it's a classic example of just don't take it too seriously. If it feels good, just go with it, and feel into what your body actually enjoys doing. So mantra meditation for me is one way of just getting into a kind of, again, a sort of march of stillness. You're kind of you have something that's sort of helping you to stay in the moment, but it's moving, and that is transcendental meditation. Actually, what transcendental meditation actually means is focusing on one thing in order to reach the meditative or the transcendent state. So those are a few options for people, but I'd say the main thing with beginning meditation is to just always forgive yourself for not being able to, well, to drop the expectations. I would say drop the expectations first of all on what you think meditation should be, because I think that's one thing that deters people going, I'm not a person that does that. I don't sit silently for hours. I don't think I can do that. Don't expect yourself to do that if you think that that isn't the style that's going to work for you, because you'll never get there. Maybe instead try and just say, okay, for a minute a day, I'm going to stare into a flower and I'm going to look at how beautiful this flower is, and just every part of my being and my mind is now focusing on the essence of this flower. And that's a meditation. And over time, maybe you could build it up. And if you feel it helps you, then, create that into a regular practice. But the main thing about meditation is creating it into something that is uniquely yours, and finding a person as well that you enjoy listening to speak, finding music that you enjoy, finding a space that you like, maybe finding a tree that you like to sit in where you could meditate in, and making it your own personal thing. And I feel like the question could come up, well, why should I start meditating? Why should I create a practice? What's the point? And to be honest, I'm not trying to tell anyone that is actually something that you should do. I'm just going to say from my own experience, someone who's experienced anxiety throughout their lives, it really helps to make peace with all of those thoughts. And it just gives you a space to go into stillness and really learn that there is silence beneath the swelling of thoughts, because you are the observer of the thoughts as opposed to the content. And we are so involved in the content of the thoughts most of the time that we're controlled by them, and we forget that we're watching those things go by. And when you come into that awareness of being the observer, you can truly gain personal power over the thoughts that you're having and over the content of your thoughts, and that changes behavior and that changes emotions. I recently read a book. I've got it here somewhere. Oh, it's underneath my camera because I've used it as a as a stand. It's called Quantum Healing by Deepak Chopra, and he speaks about doing neuroimaging throughout the body, and observing what happens to the body when you have a thought. And every part of your body is involved in a thought. So there are chemicals that are moving through your body called neuropeptides, and when you have a thought, there isn't a single space in your body that isn't affected by a neuropeptide reaction. Sorry, I'm not being very scientific, but if you want, you can look into that yourself or read the book. It's a really good book. But the reason I'm saying that is because your whole body is affected by the content of your thoughts. And so when you change the content of your thoughts, and when you're able to go into a meditative state and realize you are just observing these thoughts and they have no power over you if they're things that you don't enjoy having, think about how when you've finally gained access into understanding the patterns of your thoughts so that you can go beyond them and respond to them with thoughts you'd like to have, like positive thoughts or thoughts of encouragement, your whole body is responding. So when you say, I love myself, I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm glad to be alive, your whole body is involved in those affirmations. So affirmations as well, it's another beautiful thing to do in terms of lifting your energy and getting into a meditative state. Yeah, so I think I'm going to leave the video at that. I hope that was enjoyable and informative. Sending loads of love your way. Mwah!